Ladies and gentlemen, if you do what everyone else does, you will get what everyone else gets. And let me be blunt. Most people are broke, afraid, unfulfilled, and living far beneath their potential. Why? Because they think like everyone else. They follow trends, chase approval, fear failure, and wait for permission to live their dreams. But let me tell you something powerful. The most successful, fulfilled, and influential people in history, all, had one thing in common. They refused to think like the crowd. Today, I challenge you to break that pattern, to break away from average thinking, to claim your power and start thinking on a higher level. Let's explore the 5 steps to thinking differently, and more importantly, thinking effectively. Most people believe they are thinking when, in truth, they are only reacting, shaped and pulled by the invisible tides of the world around them. Their thoughts are not their own. They are echoes of what they saw on television, what they scrolled past online, what someone else feared, what the crowd believed. They absorb opinions like rain on dry earth, never questioning where those ideas came from or whether they serve their deeper purpose. And then, quietly, they feel a sense of disorder, as though life is happening to them rather than through them. They drift from one day to the next, wondering why clarity and peace elude them. To think with purpose is to reclaim your authority over your own mind. It is to pause in a noisy world and ask, not what the world expects of me, but what I expect of myself. It is to turn inward and discover that beneath the surface noise lies a quiet, powerful knowing. That knowing isn't found in books or approval or even in logic alone. It's found when we dare to ask the fundamental questions of a life worth living. What do I truly want? Why do I want it? And what is one step I can take today toward it? This kind of thinking requires courage, because it often brings us into conflict with the world. It exposes our comfort zones and forces us to see where we have been passive in our own becoming. It reveals how many of our beliefs are borrowed. It shows us that living on autopilot is easier, but it is never satisfying. Think of the young inventor Henry Ford. The world around him believed that only the wealthy should afford the luxury of the automobile. But Ford had a different vision, not shaped by consensus, but born of a personal conviction. He saw a future that others didn't, and instead of measuring his dream against their limitations, he pursued it with focused intention. That is the essence of purposeful thinking. It creates new paths rather than following old ones, and you too can begin this path, not in some grand gesture, but in a small sacred moment each morning. Before the world reaches you with its noise, sit quietly and write down what you truly want. Write not from fear or desire for approval, but from that deeper place that longs to create, to contribute, to grow. Then ask, what can I do today, however small, that honors this vision? The habit of thinking with purpose is not just a tool for success. It is a return to the self, a return to inner alignment, a return to a life that is yours. Once you begin to think in this way, life will not feel like something you're chasing, but something you are actively shaping, moment by moment, with clarity, courage, and conscious choice. There is a quiet emptiness that consumes many lives, not the emptiness of having nothing, but the emptiness of going nowhere. People awaken each day and fall into motion, carried by routine rather than conviction. They dress, eat, work, and scroll through glowing screens, all without a flame burning in their soul. And yet, beneath their busyness, there is often a deep ache, an unspoken longing for meaning, for direction, for a sense that life is being lived on purpose rather than by accident. This drift, this quiet despair, is not born of laziness or ignorance. It is born of disconnection from the inner compass. Without a clear and personal aim, the human spirit becomes untethered, pulled in 1,000 directions by expectations, obligations, and distractions. We lose ourselves not in catastrophe, but in repetition, and slowly, we forget who we are. 2. Choose a definite major aim. is to break this pattern. It is to draw a line between existing and truly living. It is a sacred declaration. This is where I am going. This is who I am becoming. Such a goal is not shallow or easily borrowed from others. It must rise from deep within. The result of listening to that quiet voice that stirs beneath the surface of our daily noise. Think of a young girl, abused and silenced, told by the world that she mattered little. She could have followed the path laid before her, one of limitation and fear. But instead, she envisioned something different. She imagined using her voice, not hiding it. She saw herself not just surviving, but guiding others into healing and strength. That girl became Oprah Winfrey. Her life was not shaped by circumstance. It was shaped by vision. A vision that pulled her forward even when her reality resisted. A vision that demanded growth, resilience, and authenticity. The power of such a vision cannot be overstated. When you possess a definite major aim, your choices begin to align. You stop chasing everything and begin to move with intention. Distractions lose their grip. Doubts grow quieter. Life takes on a sense of gravity and direction. You no longer need to be pushed. You are pulled by a deeper knowing of where you are meant to go. It does not matter if your vision seems impossible or unclear at first. What matters is that it is yours. It should awaken something inside you, something sacred and undeniable. It might scare you. That's a sign you're on the right path. Do not ask if it's realistic. Ask if it's alive. And once you feel it, write it down. Give it form. Place it where your eyes will meet it every day. Let it remind you of who you are and why you rise each morning. This aim is not merely a destination. It is a mirror that reflects your highest self. To walk toward it is to come home, not to who the world says you should be, but to who you have always been beneath the surface. There is a sacred place within each of us, a realm more valuable than gold or status or even time itself. It is the mind. Within it resides the power to imagine, to create, to transform our very reality. And yet, this most precious of domains is often left unguarded, as though it were a common hallway through which anything and anyone may pass. People permit the most damaging of thoughts to enter unchecked: fear, doubt, envy, distraction, never pausing to ask if these things serve their growth or diminish their strength. We live in a world that constantly demands our attention, but rarely honors our depth. Conversations filled with complaint, news reports drenched in fear, social media posts designed to compare and provoke. All of these are like subtle intrusions, slipping into the architecture of our mind until they begin to shape how we see ourselves and the world. The mind becomes crowded with voices that are not our own, cluttered with beliefs we never truly examined. Over time, this noise becomes normal, and we mistake it for our own inner truth. But would you allow a stranger to walk into your home and dump trash across the floor? Would you stand by while they shattered your windows and stole your most cherished possessions? Of course not. Yet every time we absorb negativity without question, every time we allow the lowest voices to speak the loudest in our lives, we permit the same violence to take place. Only it happens silently, in the hidden chambers of the psyche. To guard your mind is not an act of arrogance, it is an act of love. It is to declare that your inner world matters. It is to recognize that the quality of your thoughts will determine the quality of your life. This is why those who rise above the ordinary are often misunderstood. They are selective, not because they think they are better, but because they know the cost of careless influence. They do not read everything, watch everything, or befriend everyone. They choose what aligns with their purpose. They surround themselves not with noise, but with nourishment. People who challenge them to rise, ideas that expand them, and silence that allows them to hear their own soul. A study from Harvard once revealed what ancient wisdom already knew. that the people closest to us have the greatest influence on our health, wealth, and happiness. This is not coincidence. It is consequence. Energy is contagious. Beliefs spread. If you walk among doubters, you will begin to question your own vision. If you engage daily with cynics, you will start to shrink your dreams. So be intentional. Create boundaries, not to push people away, but to protect what is sacred. Let your mind be like a castle, not a hallway. Let the gates open only to what uplifts, what inspires, what brings you closer to your highest self. In a world so eager to shape you, let your mind remain your own. Fear is one of the oldest emotions known to the human soul. It lies buried in the deepest layers of the psyche, a remnant of our earliest survival instincts. And yet, in the modern world, it rarely arises to protect us from physical danger. It emerges instead as a quiet saboteur of our potential. It whispers in moments of decision. It casts shadows over dreams. It disguises itself as logic, prudence, or realism. It says, wait until you're ready, when in truth, readiness never comes to those who wait too long. The average person does not fail because they lack talent or opportunity. They fail because fear becomes their master. They fear rejection, so they never speak. They fear failure, so they never begin. They fear being misunderstood, so they stay silent about what matters most. And yet, ironically, it is this very avoidance of fear that leads to the most profound suffering, not the sharp pain of trying and failing, but the slow erosion of not trying at all. What many do not realize is that fear is not meant to be eliminated. It is meant to be integrated. To feel fear is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign that you stand on the edge of growth. That trembling before the leap is not a call to retreat, but an invitation to rise. Fear does not need to be conquered. It needs to be walked through. Because the soul evolves not in comfort, but in confrontation with the unknown. Those who rise above mediocrity are not fearless. They are simply no longer paralyzed by fear. They act even with shaking hands. They speak even when their voice quivers. They risk embarrassment, failure, even ridicule, because they are loyal to something deeper than approval. They are loyal to truth, to purpose, to their own becoming. Think of Thomas Edison, a man who failed over 1,000 times in the pursuit of a single invention. To the fearful mind, that would seem like madness. But to the purposeful mind, it was evolution. Each failure was not a wall, it was a window. Each setback revealed something new, something vital. When asked how he endured so many failures, he replied not with shame, but with perspective. I found 1,000 ways that didn't work. Such a mindset can only exist in someone who has made peace with fear and chosen to act anyway. To live a meaningful life is not to avoid fear, but to walk beside it and still choose the path forward. The great tragedy is not in falling, it is in never climbing. The mind that chooses safety over courage becomes a prison to itself, locking away its own gifts. But the one who dares, who acts in spite of trembling, discovers something miraculous, that each act of bravery reveals more of who they truly are. The journey of transformation begins the moment we stop waiting for fear to disappear. It will not. But our power lies not in its absence. It lies in the decision to move, to speak, to create in spite of it. In the depths of the human psyche lies a timeless conflict, the tension between the present impulse and the future vision. We are creatures bound by time, yet so often enslaved by immediacy. The modern world has only amplified this condition. With each swipe, each click, each dopamine-laced hit of convenience, we are encouraged to believe that what is quick is what is good, and what is slow is what is wasteful. But the soul does not evolve in microwaves. It unfolds, like the roots of a tree digging quietly into the earth, invisible but essential. Most people unknowingly surrender their lives to the tyranny of short-term thinking. They chase what soothes the moment, what earns applause today, what promises a quick return, fast money, temporary validation, easy comfort. But beneath that comfort often lies a creeping sense of disconnection, because while their days are filled, their life feels empty. The great irony is that in trying to avoid discomfort, they inherit a deeper kind, the quiet ache of an unlived life. True transformation, the kind that endures, that shapes legacy, that creates meaning, can never be rushed. It demands patience, intention, and a devotion to what is not yet visible. To live with long-term vision is to commit to the unseen. It is to plant seeds that may not blossom for years, even decades, but to know deeply that they are worth the wait. This kind of thinking is rare because it requires trust, not in what is happening now, but in what can be. Consider the beginnings of great visions. Amazon was born not in a skyscraper but in a garage. It did not become a global force in a season. It took years of loss, uncertainty, and relentless focus before it turned real profit. But its creator wasn't playing the short game. He wasn't seeking immediate applause. He was thinking decades ahead. He saw the forest, while others obsessed over the next tree. The same is true in every field. Lasting health is not bought in pills, but cultivated through disciplined choices, day after day. Deep relationships are not built through convenience, but through sacrifice, presence, and the willingness to weather seasons of change. Mastery of a skill is not attained by shortcut, but by immersion, humility, and time. These are not quick wins. They are slow victories, and they belong to those who have the courage to wait. Ask yourself not just what brings satisfaction today, but what brings meaning tomorrow. What seed can you plant now, even if it won't bear fruit for years? What part of your comfort can you exchange for growth? What distraction can you release so that your vision remains unbroken? These are not abstract questions. They are the compass by which you chart the path of your becoming. To think long-term is to live as a custodian of your future self. It is to protect your potential from the erosion of urgency. And in doing so, you rise, not only above the noise of the world, but into the rhythm of something eternal. My friends, if you remember nothing else from today, remember this. The world does not reward people who follow the crowd. It rewards those who lead it. To lead it, you must dare to think differently, clearly, boldly, purposefully. Stop asking what others are doing. Ask what you are called to do. Stop waiting to be chosen. Choose yourself. Stop following the crowd. Start forging your path. Because the moment you stop thinking like everyone else is the moment you start living like no one else. Thank you.